The last battle of the Persian War, Plataea. Here we go. After Athens was destroyed, Xerxes took his army back kind of in the center of Greece here, and they camped out for the winter. And Xerxes thought, oh my goodness, my navy's destroyed. I bet the Athenians are going to sail up to the Hellespont and destroy my super bridge that I built last year. So Xerxes splits his army in half, marches back along the coast of Greece, and he goes back to try and get to the bridge before it's destroyed. Well, when he gets there, like we talked about yesterday, the bridge is already destroyed. A huge storm destroyed it. The Greeks didn't go destroy it. They probably didn't even know about it. So Xerxes ends up having to build more ships to ferry his men back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and those guys finally go home. But he left half of his army under the command of his favorite general Mardonius in the center of Greece. He said, hey, after winter, why don't you go ahead and march back down to Athens and destroy it again? Burn it to the ground again. Steal some more statues and destroy some more of their relics. But that's not going to happen. The good news for the Greeks is now that Xerxes doesn't have a navy, there's no way that he's going to be able to invade the peninsula that Sparta lives on. The Spartans were counting on the navy being destroyed because they built a huge wall at the narrow opening of land that leads into the peninsula, the Peloponnesus. So they knew they're protected from land because nobody was getting through the wall the Spartans built. And now that the ships were destroyed, they knew they were safe from a naval attack, and they didn't have to worry about that. But what worried Sparta was that if Athens fell again, they might turn and join the Persians and help them attack Sparta. So Greeks used the time over the winter to try and round up an alliance system and get as many city-states to come kill what's left of Xerxes' army in Greece. So they join up together and they go meet him where he's camping out in the middle of Greece, known as Plataea. So before this battle starts, here's who we've got fighting today. From the north, we've got the Persian army. They have mostly cavalry, and in the center of their army, they've got some infantry, some guys on foot. The Greek army is kind of a mix and match group. In the center, of course, they put the best soldiers, 10,000 Spartans. On one flank, they put the Athenians. They had about 8,000 men. And on the other flank, it was a whole mix of city-states. The biggest one there was known as Corinth. They had about 5,000. Now, this battle kind of starts out the same way Marathon does. Both sides sit there, stare each other down, and nothing happens for about a week. But Mardonius, the commander of the Persian army, tries something really sneaky and really smart. He takes some of his cavalry, and at night they sneak around behind the Greeks, and they go to the river that the Greeks have been using for water during the staring contest. And they drop a little present in there for the Greeks. They poison the river. They sneak back before dawn, and the Greeks go to fetch some water the next day and realize, hey guys, that river we've been using for water is now poisoned. We can't really stay here. We need to go find some more water. So the Spartan commander says, all right, guys, we'll stay here because we are awesome and you guys are not as awesome as us. So we'll hold off the whole army by ourselves. Corinth, why don't you go to the west and look for water? Athens, why don't you go to the east and look for water? Now, the Persians see the Athenians go one way and the Corinthians go one way, and they say, hey, they must have gotten a fight and they're splitting up. This is perfect. Let's go attack what's left of their army. Well, that's not really what's happening. They weren't having a fight and splitting up. They were going to look for more water because they got poisoned. But Mardonius says, let's go. And he sends his infantry head on to attack the Spartans. And he sends his cavalry in to attack their flanks. Now, this doesn't look good for the Spartans, but remember, they're way better trained, and they have way better weapons, and they actually do pretty good against the entire Persian army all by themselves. By the way, there's probably about 75,000 Persians, so the Spartans were outnumbered 7-1 this time, instead of about 20-1 like Thermopylae. Now, the Athenians and Corinthians, as they're going to find water, they realize, uh-oh, the battle's going on, and we want to get in. So, it looks like the Persians might have a chance in this one until the Corinthians and the Athenians sneak up from the flanks and attack the Persians from the west and from the east. Between the Spartans in the middle taking on the brunt of the force and the Athenians and the Corinthians attacking from the sides, you can guess what happens. The Persian army is destroyed. One historian, Herodotus, says some of the infantry from Persia tried to go back and hide behind a wall, but eventually the Greeks get there and absolutely slaughter them. And they do the same to the cavalry. So, bye-bye, Persian army. Now, at the end of the battle, let's talk casualties. The Greeks lose, well, we don't exactly know. One historian said they lost 100 men, but one historian said they lost 10,000 men. So really, at the end of the day, we're not sure how many Greeks died. The Persians, well, again, one historian said there was a huge number at this battle. One said there was only about 75,000. But the important thing, however many Persians were there, all of them are casualties. The army's destroyed. They have nothing left in Greece at all. The Persian Wars are over. Greece is saved. Xerxes will never conquer them. He won't even try after this. Now, the good news, why is this so important? Well, it saved civilization as we know it. Those ideas like democracy and people having the power to vote. If the Battle of Thermopylae, the Battle of Marathon, the Battle of Salamis, and this battle, Plataea, didn't turn out the way they really did, and let's say Xerxes ends up conquering Greece, those ideas as we know it may be gone. The whole idea of democracy would be non-existent or very different today. So this is really important that the Greeks win. I hope you were cheering for them this week, because that's where most of the awesome things in America come from today. So good thing they won the war. You do not have to read section 6 on Plataea if you watch this video, but what you need to do is come up with a headline for this picture. So go ahead and go up here and place your headline. And then you need to think about which factor best explains why the Greeks won the Battle of Plataea. Was it because they joined together as allies? Was it because they had better equipment, better knowledge of the geography, or a clever military strategy? Pick which one you think best explains why the Greeks won, and write 1 or 2 sentences why. Last question. Why was it so important the Greeks won the Persian Wars? Think about that. How would our world be different if the Persians won instead of the Greeks? When you are finished, I want you to look down at the processing. Do not worry about writing on a separate piece of paper a paragraph. All I want you to do is look at these 4 factors that we talked about all week and decide which one is most important and which one is least important. So all you're going to do is rank these. Maybe you thought the Greek equipment was really important, so you gave that a 1. Maybe you thought the Greek strategy was very important, so you gave it a 2. Geography, not so important, a 3. And allies, nah, maybe not important, a 4. Just rank them 1, 2, 3, 4 in the order that you think they belong.